Remember when you were younger, you probably had all of these fabulous dreams. Maybe you're going to go to the moon. You're going to be rich and famous. You're going to be on Broadway. You're going to be the first woman playing in the NFL. So you had these dreams, and we've gotten older. Now I'd like to ask you, what does your dream life look like? Is it even possible? Is it clear? Is it muddied? Do you believe you can reach it? So I want you to think about that, but pause. Take out a piece of paper and a pen. Go ahead. I'm going to ask you to do this. Write down 3 words: possibilities, courage, and community. So ask yourself this: how have I set up limits in front of me that have sort of narrowed the possibilities of my dream life? Do I have the courage to step forward into the dream life? Do I have the community? Do I have the support behind me that's going to propel me toward that dream life? Possibilities, courage, community. I'm Dr. Brenda. I'm a sociologist, a researcher, a financial coach, and I'm the founder of the Gutsy Women Club. I am also a full-time RVer. I traded in the house. I live on the road with my 3 cats, and it is a life of joy. And I'm here to convince you that life is full of possibilities, that you do have the courage to pursue your dreams, and that you can do amazing things if you get this group of kick-ass women behind you, supporting you, building you up. So let's go back to that dream life. I've been told all you got to do is find your passion. Figure out what your purpose in life is. Find out, how do you want to leave a legacy? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that is really heavy. What if I don't have this ultimate purpose? Or what if my purpose has changed? What if I don't have just one passion, but I've got 10 passions, or I don't have any passions? A legacy, I am just trying to get through the day. How can I possibly think of leaving a legacy? So I think that's the wrong way to approach it. It's like your dream life comes from inside, and it comes from building a life of joy. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is we have all these constraints on us. So we're thinking, okay, we're told the American dream. You go to college, you work hard, you get in with a good company, and you keep working, you get the house, you get the family, you get vacations here and there, and then you retire, and then you live your dream life. And folks, that formula has been tossed on its head. It's a different economy. It's a gig economy. We have pandemics. We have unemployment. What was once safe is no longer safe. Maybe it's more risky to stay down that path than it is to divert into a different life. So I know a lot about that because I've done that myself. Now, I'm going to tell you my story, but I want to tell you the 3 roadblocks that I believe are really holding you back. Are you ready? This is it. Number 1 is yourself. I do believe that you are setting roadblocks in front of yourself with limiting beliefs. The second thing, and this is perfectly normal, but it is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of what happens if I can't make it. And the third piece is you're doing it alone. You're trying really hard, but you're doing it alone, and it is really a tough journey, even with support. So I'm going to tell you a bit now about my story before I talk to you about those limitations and the Gutsy Dream system and the Gutsy Women Club. So I believed in the American dream with all my heart. I am a Midwesterner. I'm a farm girl, grew up on the dairy farm. I am working class all the way. And I believe that if I got an education and I worked hard and I was really competent at what I did, I would get everything that I ever wanted, right? So I left the farm, I went to college, and in college, I fell in love, okay? I fell in love with something called social science research. Yeah, I am that geeky. So I'd always been an idealist, and this was a way to study society, to ask questions, to build hypotheses, to test theories, to collect data, to analyze data, to make it all make sense. And if I could figure out what was going on with society, especially those bad parts of society, those things that hold us back, like, poverty and crime and racism and sexism, maybe I can figure out the solution to it. So I fell in love with sociology, and I went on to get my PhD in sociology. I published my dissertation. I did everything great, but some of you are going to relate to this, okay? I came out at exactly the worst time for me. So I had a position in California, and I was applying for academic positions everywhere, and the state budgets were just being slammed. So what is typically funded with state budgets? Your universities and colleges. And, folks, I love sociology, but we're not at the top of the hiring list. So it was, at the same time, I got downsized from my position, which was a state position. So I got downsized, and I thought, okay, it's all right because I'm going to land on my feet. I've done all the right things. I've got my education. I've worked my tail off. I'm going to get a job. And you know what? I didn't. I couldn't find anything even close to something that brought me excitement or even required a PhD. And I always remember the words of a friend. She said, well, what's your plan B? I was in my 20s, my late 20s. I was 30 years old. I'm like, I don't need no plan B. I've got everything that the American dream told me I needed. So I've got the education. Surely I'm going to get this academic position. Well, she was right. I didn't have a plan B, and I spent 3.5 years. I traveled, spent that time in 5 different states trying to find a break, trying to find something that excited me, something that might require the PhD. I took all kinds of jobs, and the result was really poverty. By the time I, was in my early 30s, I fit all of my belongings into a little Honda hatchback. I was living in downtown Atlanta in this basement of a house. I had cockroaches crawling across my hair. I was without hope. I mean, the only thing I really wanted, my dream at that point, was to get a job so I can get an apartment, so I can get a new mattress. That was the extent of my dream, but I felt totally hopeless and angry. I had played by the game, and I couldn't get there. The doors were not open to me. I didn't have the connections that, maybe wealthier people have. So it was an incredibly horrific time in my life, but I finally got that break. And I got this break that led to an amazing, fabulous career. And I'll tell you, there was one thing when I got that break. I had a salary and I had benefits. It's like, I'm never going to be poor again. I am never going to be poor again. So once I got that salary, paid off some debt, I saved as much money as I could. And I think I turned 40. I'm about 40 years old. I'm like, I have a fair amount of money. Maybe I should figure out what to do with it. Because we're not taught anything about money. If money is top secret, people would prefer to talk about sex than talk about money. So I didn't know a whole lot about investing and what to do with it. So I added Money Geek to my plate of hats. I became enthralled by this concept called FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I'm like, I crunched the numbers. And I'm like, well, if I keep saving this much and I keep my expenses down, maybe I could reach a point where I could either retire early or if something happened, I'd be okay. So boom, I was on that path toward financial independence. And then 3 things happened. I'm going to call it the Bermuda Triangle. I took a month off of vacation. I'd had a high-stress job. There weren't a lot of intrinsic rewards there from my organization. I took a whole month off, and I'd never done that ever in my whole life. And I had the best time. I went to Wisconsin, visited family, went to the Packer game. I hung out with my friends. We did a master naturalist event in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. I went to North Carolina to go to a school on wood carving. I read. I had the best time of my life. I did not miss work one day, 1 minute, 1 second. It was just the best. Second thing that happened is I had a friend, a coworker, someone that we started at the same time. We'd been working together for 15 plus years. And she stood in my doorway and she said, "Hey, Brenda, I feel like you don't even have the time to say hello to me anymore. I can see that you're looking at that clock over my shoulder." And I thought about it and I said, "You are absolutely right. My whole life was driven by that clock. I had a pile of work. I had no staff. I was passionate about the subject I worked on to the point where I feel like maybe they took advantage of me. I worked and worked and worked, and I had to account for every 15 minutes of my time. And it just really struck me that I have no time to stop by somebody's office and say, "Hey, how are you? How's your family? How are you feeling?" She was absolutely correct. The third thing that happened was a conversation with the head of the organization that it was just like, they don't care what I'm doing. They're using my good stuff to write in their annual board book. They're not giving me the staff. They don't really understand what I'm doing. The topic I'm working on is not a priority for them. They don't care. And just like that, boom, the whole world, the whole career ended, okay? I'm gonna put it out there like that. So I lost my job. I could no longer be loyal to a toxic organization, and my heart wasn't in it anymore. I just couldn't continue putting that burden on myself when the organization didn't really care. So there I was, 54 years old, lost my job, lost my benefits. There goes my income, and there goes my health insurance, there goes everything. So I'm gonna come back, think about what you would do. It's not like being in your mid-50s is ideal time to get a new job, to get a new career. So think about what you would do in that scenario. So I told you that there are 3 things that are holding you back. One is yourself, second is fear, and the third is you're trying to do it alone. So let's talk about the things that are holding you back in terms of yourself. Now, as a sociologist, I see the way that society treats people based on social status, on race, on class, on gender. And so I know it's not an even playing field. So I absolutely am aware that society places limits on you based on all kinds of things that you have no control over. But what I'm talking about here are the limits that you place on yourself. A lot of these are self-limiting thoughts. I'm too old. I'm not attractive enough. I'm just not worthy. I have too many responsibilities. All of these things that put you behind everybody else and that you convince yourself that I can't do this. Well, folks, you can. So part of it is these self-limiting beliefs that we hold in ourselves. And maybe we've had people telling us, you'll never get your finances in order. You just suck at math. Maybe we've internalized some of that. So yeah, we are holding ourselves back. The second is fear. And I'm going to tell you a story about this woman I met. And it was years and years ago. And have you ever met someone that I don't even know her name. And I met her so many years ago, and she still has an impact on me. So I was in the Virgin Islands on a work trip. Sounds really challenging. I know, it was a tough life. So I was in the Virgin Islands, and I had to take a ferry from St. Thomas to St. John's to go on this adventure that I had planned up. On the ferry, I noticed this woman, and she is glowing. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off of her because she knows the secret of life. She knows something that I don't know. And she just glowed. So we got off at the same dock and into the same open air taxi. We get off at exactly the same place and we start walking to the booth where we're gonna get our snuba lessons. Okay, I did not mispronounce that. Snuba. It's a mix between snorkeling and scuba diving. So you've got the tank up on top and the tube so you can go further down. So there you go. If you learn nothing today, you know what snuba is. So she and I were in the snuba class together. And so we got our gear, we walked down to the beach, and she began to tell me her story. She said, you know, I did everything right. I was the good housewife. I was the mom. And my husband retired. We had been waiting our whole lives for retirement. And when it got there, all he wanted to do was sit in front of the TV. She said, I couldn't live like that anymore. I only have so many years left. So she was probably in her 70s. She said, I was married for 50 years and I had to divorce him. I'm here, I'm volunteering with this conservation organization. I am living this life of adventure. That was her secret. Her secret was finding the joy, the nature. She was on her own, folks. The fear of wasting the rest of her life in front of that TV with the husband was greater than the fear of getting that airline ticket, of volunteering with that organization. The other thing that resonates with me are all the number of the gutsy women that I've been interviewing, and gutsy women who have gone on to create their own careers. They're entrepreneurs. They've gone their own separate path. But here's what surprises me about so many of them. Most of them, the majority of the women I interviewed, had been in really bad relationships, domestic violence relationships, relationships where they were emotionally abused on a daily basis, psychologically abused, mentally abused, some financially exploited, some physically abused. They were in that situation. And they talked about finally getting out. And when they got out, some were homeless. Some just hopped on a bus to nowhere. The fear of staying in that relationship and living your whole life like that was greater than the fear of being homeless, greater than the fear of the unknown. And so I think that courage is the opposite of fear. You have to have fear to have the courage. So when you get to a point where the fear of having this humdrum life, doing the same thing over and over, finding no joy in the workplace, finding yourself in relationships that no longer serve you, only when that fear reaches a certain level do you grow that courage. The third thing is we're all doing it alone. Most of us don't have a big support system. So I told you I was 54 and suddenly unemployed. Unemployed, no benefits, nothing. Well, I'd also been saving my money, so I knew that I had a pretty decent cushion. And that cushion bought me the freedom of figuring out what my next steps were going to be. Now, I could go back into my career. It probably would have meant I had to move up to Washington, D.C. area, and I didn't want to do that. And I really wanted to try something else. So I decided I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to teach other women how to master their money. I'm going to teach them how to become financially free so that if this happens to them, they're not totally screwed. So I learned how to create online courses and develop the Dream Big Money Academy. And along the way, I remember having lunch with someone I used to work with, and she was always somebody that, you know, she's a friend, but I had to limit my time with her. So I told her my plans. I said, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to become this entrepreneur. This is my business idea. And she looked at me and she said, you know, Brenda, when it fails, it's all on your shoulders. I looked at her and I said, you mean when it succeeds, it's all on my shoulders? And so I caught her in that negative thinking, the conclusion that that I'm just gonna fail. And when I told people that I was sort of giving up this career, you know, this high level PhD and career and all that stuff, they kind of looked at me and I think they wanted to do an intervention. Brenda's flipped the lid. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But I felt very much alone. And that is absolutely one of the challenges. So what if I told you that all of those things don't have to be that way. So remember, I told you to write down 3 words. What are they? What are they? What are they? Possibilities, courage, and community. So I'm going to talk about my awakening a bit, because I had built, some financial freedom. I had built these online courses, and I became a financial coach. And I sat at my dining room table working for like 18 months straight. And those of you who have been through the pandemic working from home might know how, it's exciting at first and then it gets a little bit old. So I'd been working from that dining room table, looking at that same suburban street. I'd put on a weight. I was depressed. And one day I came to the realization I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And here I am, a financial coach, and I'm talking about financial freedom. Financial freedom for what? So that you can sit at your dining room table? Oh, hell no. No, that is not the life. And if I can't take a step toward some type of a dream life, how can I teach other women to do the same thing? So I thought back about my career, and there were 2 things that I desperately missed. I missed the travel. I really loved seeing new places. Second thing, I really absolutely missed the people. I got to meet new people all the time. So I'm like, all right, I've done a good thing by creating online courses. As long as I have the internet, I can do this job from anywhere, right? So how do I get the travel, and how do I get meeting people back into my life? Plus, I'm sitting on this asset that no longer serves me. I'm sitting on this house. The mortgage is paid for. It needs a new roof. It needs new windows. It needs new AC. Do I really want to invest in that when the house is too big for me? It no longer has that meaning to me anymore. So I sold my house. I bought an RV. I had never driven an RV before. I had never been in an RV before. So I've got this great motorhome, and I've got my 3 cats with me, and I am traveling the country and finding absolute joy. So it's such a different life, and it has allowed me to see that a lot of what we're doing is about somebody else's expectations. When you go deep down inside and think about what brings you joy, you know what the answer is. So a lot of people started saying, well, you're so gutsy, you're out there alone, how do you do that? And I thought, well, okay, I know how I do it. And it occurred to me that it's really a system that I can teach other women how to do gutsy stuff, whatever that means. Going back to school, building a family, going to the moon, RVing, whatever the dreams are that you're afraid of stepping forward, traveling around the world. I've got a system that can help you. So the Gutsy Women Club was born. Remember, I talked about possibilities, courage, community. That's what the Gutsy Women is all about. So the first thing I do is I open your door, open your window of possibilities. So we do vision boards. We talk about, what does your dream life look like? I mean, imagine for a moment, if money's not a concern, if time is not a concern, what does your dream life look like? And I think a lot of you out there are probably thinking, come on, there's just no way I can even get to that point of imagining it. Well, imagine it, because your dream life can start small and grow. So we talk about possibilities, and to get to those possibilities, you've got to prioritize yourself, and you have to shove some of those things from the past away. So don't let the past define you. The past affects you, but don't let it define you. How you react to the past is the most important thing. So I have 3 levels in my Gutsy Women Club: starter, intermediate, and advanced. And the first thing we do is get rid of all of those self-limiting beliefs. We start to look at the role we played. What's the story we tell? How do we create mindful actions? Let's create affirmations. Let's think about our dreams. Let's actually picture our dreams. And at the end of that starter level, we take those things that no longer serve us, the habits, the anger, the bitterness, the disappointment, the stuff we've accumulated. We take those things, you can put them on an imaginary piece of paper. We've got a campfire. Imagine those things going up in smoke, going up in embers into the sky, releasing yourself. So part of this is about opening the door to possibilities. Now, the second piece is courage. So you got possibilities, let's open that life to possibilities. The second is courage. And you might say, I'm just not gutsy enough. I can't do this. I'm afraid of everything. I believe that courage can be taught, and you can get there step by step by step. So that woman in the Virgin Islands, you know, she played the game for 50 years. She got the courage. Not overnight. I would bet she did a lot of research. She did a lot of soul searching, and she took step by step to get to that ferry, to that snooble lesson, to volunteering for that conservation group. She had the courage, and you have the courage inside too. And I do believe we take you step by step by step. So you're not jumping out of the airplane today. You might never jump out of the airplane, but maybe you're researching, you know, how to get that parachute on. So we're going to walk you through step by step, and that is what the Gutsy Dream system is about. It's about taking you step by step by step. So by the end of it, you are not only on your journey to your dreams, but you're going to have some sort of like mini dreams and some milestones. You're going to meet those. You are going to meet those. I honestly believe that you have it in you. Third piece, community. Oh boy, that is the biggest thing with the Gutsy Women Club. That is my ultimate goal, to get you feeling like, wow, I am part of this kick-ass community of women. We're out there chasing our dreams. If something goes on, if I have a setback, those women are going to push me forward. I am going to be part of this club that encourages, that supports other women on their dreams. So that's what it's about. Possibilities, courage, community. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this might not be good for you, and it might be perfect for you. Who am I looking for? All right. The Gutsy Dream system is a system of possibilities, and it is a system of doing. So you have to be ready to do. You can't just come to a campfire chat, show up for something, and not do the activities, not do the internal work. And some of it is challenging because you've got to go back and look at your story and admit those ways that you're limiting yourself. You've got to be ready to do. Are you a person of action? I want you. Second thing, you believe in conspiracies and lies? This ain't the place for you, honey. No way. I'm a researcher. I'm about research, science, data, and exploring things throughout the world. So I'll take concepts from any part of the world and incorporate that if it helps us grow. I'm looking for open-minded people who love learning, love exploring new things. Third thing I'm looking for, open-heartedness. Okay? I'm looking for women who are not going to judge other women because of the color of their skin, because of their religion, because of their appearance, because of some other factor that they can't control. I want people who will embrace all of humanity. I really see this as a global organization. I don't care what nation you're from. I just want you to be open-hearted, to be willing to open your heart so that you can receive the support you're going to get, but you can also give it out. Those are the three things I'm looking for. So why not? Are you ready? Are you ready to join the Gutsy Women Club? Possibilities, courage, community. And I can already hear you say, I don't have enough time to do that. I've got doubts. I don't think I can really do it. You know, and I, I, I can't afford it. Well, it's a small investment. And think about your life 6 months from now, if you do nothing at all. Think about your life 1 year from now. Can you go out 5 years? Are you going to be happy with the trajectory of your life now? So, is it worth investing some time to yourself? And the doubts? We've all got our doubts. That's why you join the Gutsy Women Club, to get past those doubts. So I am inviting you, if you are a doer, if you are open-minded and open-hearted, and you really, really, truly want to build that dream life, to realize a dream life, to even define it in a way you've never been able to before, come join us at the Gutsy Women Club. So I'm Dr. Brenda. I invite you into the club to think about possibilities, courage, community. I believe you can do this, and we're there to help you every step of the way. Come on in.